Shalom, shalom, shalom. It is real, first and foremost, holy of all praises, all honor, all glory unto the Most High God Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach, woman like Yahushua. This is Brother Zakar with WFI St. Louis, right? Coming at y'all, with a quick cold cut through the spirit, man, right? And the topic of this cold cut is controlling your tongue, right? This is something that is imperative as teachers, right? As mothers and fathers, and as brothers and sisters. We must learn how to control our tongue. We must learn when is a season to speak and when is the season not to speak, right? And chiefly, we're going to be going into when it's time not to speak. Controlling the things that we say when we're emotional, right? Seeing what's profitable for us in the moment to say, right? Having discernment, thinking before you speak, right? These are things that we must do, right? So we're going to kind of just hop into it, man, right? This is the book of James, chapter 3 and verse number 1. It says, "My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation," right? And this is for the teachers, man, right? "For in many things we offend all. If any man offend, not in word, but the same as a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body," right? "Behold, we put bits in the horse's mouth that they may obey us," right? And that's that bridle that it was talking about in verse 2, right? "And we turn about their whole body," right? So this bridle, right, that you put in the horse's mouth, the things that strap to them and the thing that they bite down upon, right? Somebody who's riding a horse, right, they control it with that bridle. You make it go left, you make it go right, you make it stop, right? You make it stand up on its hind legs, right? And you make it go again. This is what you do with a bridle. With such a small piece, you control the whole animal. You control the whole course of how this animal acts, the direction that it turns, right? Just this small thing. How much more our tongue, right? And it's going to get into that, right? It says, "Behold," this is verse 4, "Behold, also the ships, which though they be so great and are driven of fierce winds, yet they are turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeneth," right? So even a great mighty ship, man, right, is turned about with a small helm. Something so small controls something so massive. And this is the point of this being brought out, right? We're not gonna be hasty. We're gonna jump into it. It says, verse 5, "Even so the tongue is a little member, and boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and is set on fire of hell." Right? So this thing is so small, our tongue, right? Just like the rain is small, the helm is small. But guess what? It directs the course. How we speak to one another, it has weight to it, man, right? The world will say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt. Hey, that's not true. Words have power and meaning to them, man. You could offend somebody, right? And that means something. It's not just a damn rock that you throw and break a brother's leg that offends him, right? No, you could spiritually overthrow somebody by the things that you say, right? That's why Paul said you have to be aware for your brother's conscience sake, right? And not just your own, the things that you say. The Lord said if you offend the little one, it's like tying a millstone around your neck and casting it into the sea, man. That's how powerful the things that we say are. That's why we must be conscious and aware of that. This tongue, it sets a blaze of fire, man. Because guess what? When you're angry, you say things that you kind of regret later on, right? Say, okay, some of it may have been right. Some of those things you may have wanted to say. But did you say it how you wanted to say it? Right? Was that the right way to say it? Right? And was it in its season? And now these are the things that we're going to have to touch on and we have to think about before we speak. That's why it's imperative to have that control and a rule over your spirit. Because if not, this tongue can set this whole course ablaze. It can turn your relationship upside down. right? And things that you may not be able to come back from. You say one thing, man, and your partner may not trust you no more. Because you kind of throw something back that they said in their face, right? It's for men and women. We have to be aware of the things we say and not get emotional, right? So let me hop into the book of 1 Corinthians, right? Chapter 10 and verse number 23. And it reads, all things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient, right? So, hey, some of the things that you may have said, we're just going to stick with the argument for an example. Some things that you may say, yeah, they may have not been wrong, right? It wasn't a sin to say it, but was it expedient, right? Was this the best time to say it, right? You get into an argument and you getting out all the things that you've held up, man. You've held in that you haven't got to say. Is this the time to say it? Right? When you're angry, when you're rash, when your emotions and spirits are high, right? And now you kind of talking to the person like you don't really love them, right? And now they kind of looking at you in that different light. Like, this is how you really felt about me all along. And it took one argument to get that out of you. That's not how we want to be towards one another. If you have an issue with someone, you come to that person in earnest and sincerity, right? You address the issue and you don't wait to the boiling or the breaking point, man, to lay out all the charges or all the sins, man. But that's with the anger, wrath, not having control over your tongue, and not moving according to the law, not doing according to the scriptures say. All these things happen, and it's a snowball effect, and it ends with the tongue and everything coming out that shouldn't have came out. It wasn't the due season for it, right? Let's keep reading on that. All things are lawful for me, but all things edify not. You saying all these things when you're angry, right? Or if it's out of season. People are turning up in mirth, right? And you have something to say that kind of gets people in a serious spirit. Are these things that's going to be edifying? Or are you putting a spirit on brothers? You're putting a spirit on one another because it's out of season, right? And you're stirring up strife and you're stirring up wrath, right? And now brothers are kind of looking at you funny, man, because you're ruining, the vibe or the mood for a situation on these feast days because of how we talk, right? You're ruining relationships and friendships because of the things that you say when things get a little rough, man, right? Instead of waiting for its due season, right? And I keep mentioning this, so let's go ahead and just grab it in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, and verse number 1. And it reads, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven, right? So it's not always a time to say what's on your mind either, right? It has to be in due season, right? So the first thing that comes to your head, you don't just, oh, this brother offended me. You're at camp. You kind of pull the brother off the line. Hey, Ak, we got to talk. Right? That's not in its due season either. You have to have discernment and know when to righteously do these things. Because if not, you're going to overthrow yourself, man. Right? And people aren't going to want to deal with you. Feast days, right? Within your own household. You have to be aware and know exactly the things, what you say, when you say it, when's the season for it. Set up a time to talk to the brother. Hey, look, we got to talk, hey, we may have to have another witness depending on how serious this matter is, right? But this is all doing things decently and in order, like it says in 1 Corinthians 14 and 40. That's how we must live, decently and in order with all things that we do, and manner of conversation, actions, deeds, right? It all has to be decently and in order, right? So let's get this in the book of Philippians chapter 2 and verse number 15. right? Because again, man, all the things we do, it's in front of the nation. Everybody sees what we do, right? And everybody is looking to blame us, right? Because nobody is for the Israelites. We see the decrees that are trying to be passed. We see what Trump's trying to do, right? If you say anything against Israel or the churches, man, it's a hate crime now. We see the laws and things that they're trying to pass. Free speech ain't free no more, man. Contrary to popular belief, right? You can try to use that. It almost got us locked up a few weeks ago. Free speech is not free speech. They determine what free speech is. If you provoke somebody, it's not free speech no more. We have to be aware of these things when we're out on the highways and byways, being circumspect, so it doesn't overthrow the congregation. And what spirit are we in and when we're saying these things, right? Is it thus saith the Lord, or is it of our own belly, man? Are we just saying these things? You kind of close the Bible and you just saying whatever you want to say, getting on the other nations, man. Not having rule over your spirit, right? Then that zeal overtake you, right? Let me get this real quick. It's the book of Philippians, chapter 2 and verse number 15. It says that ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God, without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, right? So again, and when we're going out there teaching specifically for the teachers for this, we have to be blameless within our speech, right? We have to know when we have to say certain things, when not to say certain things, right? Is it profitable to get on the other nations when you're feeding the sheep? Hey, some people, they enjoy that, and some people, it draws them into the truth. It drew me into the truth. But you got to have discernment about who you're speaking to. Or is it profitable about uplifting our people? Is it profitable to tear down the strongholds they have? You have to have discernment and what you're doing. You have to be blameless. Because if you're just shaking the hand at the other nation while Jake is right here, you stop talking to Jake and you get on Esau. What profit is that? Who is that profiting? We're not out here for the other nations, man. We're out here for the so-called blacks, Native Americans, and Hispanics. We have to seal the whole full elect in order to get out of here. Telling Esau that they're going into captivity does nothing for us. Yeah, we have to let them know their judgment. Cool. But if it's sheep to feed, this is our first priority. Right? To hell with these other nations, man. Right? We'll have our foot on their neck soon enough. It's a season to everything. Esau want to come up, they're bringing doctrines, they're taking away from the sheep, utterly dismantle them and destroy them and put their head on a stake. Khan, we agree with that. But do it in a season. Control your tongue. Don't get the camp overthrown by the things that you say, right? We have to be aware of that, right? Because it says, harmless without rebuke in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation. Because, hey, we're among the perverse. We're among the wicked on a daily. They're not going to side with us. They're not going to take our side. Again, the instance we had a few weeks ago, we have footage in 4K, right? Of a Sheetamite getting all riled up, right? Hey, brothers was getting on her and her husband, man, right? We got her in 4K. We got an eyewitness that it came down from where we was teaching that because he lived up in the building above, right? And they still try to lock one of us up. So this is for brothers to be circumspect to what we're doing out here, right? And be aware of the things that we're saying. Because it's coming a time, and we're going to get locked up for this thing. Let's not be hasty to jump to it. This word still must go out. We still have to seal these elect, man. Let's not preemptively, be hasty to get locked up, right? Because it's a joyful thing to get locked up, but what spirit are you doing it in? It's a joyful thing to be thrown in prison for the Lord, but what spirit are you doing it in? Is it coming out of here, thus saith the Lord, right? Or again, did you close the Bible and you just shaking the hand? right? Let's be conscious and be aware of those things, right? Proverbs chapter 25 and verse number 28. It says, he that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down without walls, right? And if you don't have control over your tongue, you don't have control over your spirit, you don't have control over the things that you say, you're like a city that is broken down without walls. People are just going to be able to do whatever they want. They're pushing all your buttons, man. It's like you get on an elevator and you got 100 floors and they just drag their hand across every button. And now you're on 10 and you can't calm down because you're not fortified. You're not built up. Your spirit isn't built up to deal with that. And now you're getting the body overthrown, right? Now your relationship is in shambles, right? Because you didn't like the way your husband talked to you. You didn't like the way your wife talked to you, right? When in season, it was good to separate, calm down, and readdress the situation later when both of y'all was calm, right? And for teachers, man, you have to know that there's scoffers in these last days, right? It's gonna be people that come up, right, blaspheme the name of the Lord, say all manners of wickedness, threaten us, and do all things to take away from the ministry. But we have to stay in the spirit. We have to be found blameless. At the end of the day, that's Satan. And Satan is doing his job if he pushes your buttons and you fail. Be aware of that. That when we fail and our spirit is like a city without no walls, our tongue is ruthless, we say whatever comes to mind, Satan has won. You have a charge against you now. Satan is showing this to the Lord. Look at him. Look how he's acting. Sitting back. And the Lord kind of shaking his head, man. We have to be blameless, man. We have to be the example. We have to be that light unto the world, man. Showing them the way to go. And not acting as the things that they see on TV about our people. Portraying the wickedness. We must be different. Right? We have to be on the straight and narrow path and not the wide gate. Yeah, our people are rambunctious. We run our mouth. Don't be like that. Right? Be one that can control their spirit. Have rule over it. Have dominion over their spirit. Right? Let me get this real quick. In the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse number 4, I believe it is. Right? Because all these other nations, man. Yeah, 1 Thessalonians 4 and 4. All these other nations, right, they just do as they please. There is no consequences for what they do. The Chinese, man, we could go in their shop. They can lock the door. They can beat our women, right? They could jump her, drag her, and throw her out the store, man. Right? Putting her in damn arm bars. There's no repercussions for that. So-called white man can draw down on a brother that's walking away with a hoodie on and kill him in cold blood. There is no consequences or repercussion for that. But the moment we are at fault in one thing, we're the ones that have to pay the punishment. Right? Because this place is not our rest. We cannot move freely around this place. Be aware of that. Always be circumspect. And remember, this place is not our rest. So we're judged 10 times as harsh. That's why it's even more imperative for us to be blameless in this place. Right? It's the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 4. That every one of you should know how to possess his vessel in sanctification and in honor, not in the lust of concupiscence, even as the Gentiles which know not God. Right? So you can't be moving as these other nations move because they don't know the Lord. That's why they don't. The things that we do, they marvel at. The knowledge that we have, the little knowledge that we have from the scriptures, they marvel at. We are defeating PhD scholars, right? Whatever pastor and other denominations that you can think of, we utterly wipe the floor with them. Whether it be a Muslim doctrine, right? Christianity, the Trinity, the Seventh-day Adventists, the damn Mormons, Jehovah Witness. We utterly destroy them with the little knowledge that the Lord has bestowed upon us, because they don't have the true word of God. They don't know God, right? They know the idols that they worship. But this is how we know that we serve the true and living God, because the words of the Lord have been undefeated time and time again. And he sent it out here by his prophets. And we see it week in and week out. On the Shabbat, when all these camps and all these cities go out there, and you see the constant pulling down the strongholds. You see people throwing the idols away, man. You see our people coming back, repenting, putting on fringes, man. Casting the pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster now, right? Knowing that the next time they lay down with a woman, hey, that's marriage. Same for the woman. Next time you lay down with a man, that's marriage. There's things that we must start taking serious, because these other nations don't know the Lord. So we have a greater judgment for knowing the Lord, right? And specifically as teachers, that's why we're going to be judged first, right? Let me get this other quick precept in the book of Proverbs, chapter 15, and verse number 1. It says, a soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger, right? So we have to know, again, it's a due season to say everything. That it may not be what you want to say, right? But it's what needs to be said in the moment. You may want to go full 10. Hey, but that soft answer turned away. You're talking to a drunk man on the highways and byways. It's not the time to shake the hand at him, man. Right? He's not in his right state of mind. All right, brother, we'll talk to you later. Right? You read, man, she's irate. She's not in the spirit. You can perceive that that's Satan on her. Cool, we'll talk about this later. You're not in the right spirit. And calm down. We talk about these things. That way Satan he doesn't have a charge to lay to you, man. Again, it's all about being blameless in this walk. The Lord said in Matthew 5:48, "A be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect." We must walk after these ordinances, man. We must walk as Yahushua has walked. He was perfect, man. Yahushua wasn't just being irate, being angry all the time. He was austere, yes. But, hey, the Lord, he wasn't just shaking hand everywhere he went. He was reserved, man. Right? When the Pharisees, they tempted him and they tried to find him. Hey, he was quiet sometimes. He just didn't answer them. Sometimes it's best not to answer. It's best to shut up. It's a thing that we must learn as a nation. Everything does not need a response, right? The worldly you would give a response. The worldly you would get on 10. The Lord says, do away with the former man. You stand over the former man and you put 2 in his head and you dig him 10 feet under. Not 6, you dig him 10 feet under, man. And you make sure he never comes back. You see the hand creeping back up, you put 2 more and you shove them back down in there, man. That's what we must be doing. Being blameless and harmless in the sight of all the wickedness that's going on out here. That way, we have our brother's best interest, our sister's best interest. That way, we come together and we be a stronger nation. That we may not be overthrown and Satan may not sift to have us, man. Right? But that was a quick exhortation through the Spirit, quick cold cut on controlling our tongue. It's imperative, man. But with that, we want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory unto the Most High God, Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach, Woman Like Yahushua, Kum Yasha. Shalom.